Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're tackling something that affects pretty much every app on your phone and computer. It's this huge divide. Is the software you're using a lockdown product you have to pay for, or is it a project that's totally open for anyone to see and improve?
I mean, you've probably wondered about this, right? You find this awesome piece of software, it does everything you need, and it's completely free. But then you see a similar program that costs like $100. What gives? What's the real story behind that price tag or a lack of one?
Well, the answer really boils down to two totally different philosophies. You can think of it like this. One side is all about control and ownership. It's like a locked fortress. The other side? That's all about freedom and collaboration. Kind of like a community garden where everyone pitches in.
Okay, so let's dig into that first model, the fortress. This is the one you're probably most familiar with. We're talking about the world of proprietary, or what's often called closed-source software.
A good way to think about it is like a car company. They design the car, they own all the patents, and they tell you what you can and can't do with it. The key thing here is that the source code, the actual blueprint for the software, is a total secret.
And I love this analogy of the secret recipe. When you buy proprietary software, it's like you're being served a finished meal. It works great, but you have no idea how it was made. The recipe is locked away in a vault. You get the final product, the part that runs, but you never, ever get to see the source code, those instructions that make the whole thing tick.
And how do they control it? Well, you know those massive legal documents that we all scroll through and click agree on without a second thought? Yep, that's how. We're talking about the End User License Agreement, the EULA, and the Terms of Service. And make no mistake, those are legally binding contracts that spell out exactly what you can and cannot do with their software.
So if this code is their secret sauce, their most valuable asset, how do companies actually protect it and, make sure they get paid for all their hard work?
It really comes down to a three-pronged approach. First up, you've got good old copyright law. The software is treated just like a book or a movie. It's their intellectual property. Then there's something called digital rights management, or DRM. Think of this as a digital lock and key system to stop you from making copies. And finally, there's the license itself, the thing you agreed to, which is basically your permission slip to use the software under their very specific rules.
And all this protection leads to a really powerful business strategy. It's called vendor lock-in. Basically, they can use special file formats or features that don't play nice with other software. This makes it super difficult or really expensive for you to ever switch to a competitor. You're effectively locked into their ecosystem.
Okay, so that's the lockdown world. But what if there was a totally different way to do things? Well, there is. And that brings us to the other side of the divide, the world of free and open source software. You'll often hear it called FOSS. This is a whole other way of thinking, and trust me, it's a bigger deal than you might realize.
Okay, and this next part is maybe the most important thing to get. When people in this world say free software, they're not necessarily talking about the price. That's free as in beer. What they really mean is free as in speech. It's about liberty, about your freedom and rights as a user.
Yeah, at its core, this whole philosophy is about empowering you. The idea is that you should have total control over the programs running on your own devices. So it's not about scoring a freebie, it's about a fundamental principle of freedom. And this freedom is actually broken down into what are called the 4 essential freedoms. Basically, you have the freedom to run the program for whatever you want, the freedom to actually look at the source code, study it, and change it to do what you want, the freedom to share copies with your friends, and even the freedom to share your changed versions with others. I mean, it is a complete 180 from the proprietary model.
Now, you'll also hear the term open source thrown around a lot. It's very similar, but it really focuses more on the practical, real-world benefits of this approach. The thinking is, hey, if thousands of smart people can look at the code, bugs will get found and fixed way faster. And this isn't some niche idea. This model powers enormous parts of our world. The Linux operating system, for instance, runs a huge chunk of the entire internet. It's all about driving innovation through this massive, transparent, collaborative effort.
All right, so we've got these two competing philosophies, the lockdown fortress on one side and the open community garden on the other. So how do they really stack up when you, as a user, have to pick a piece of software? Let's put them side by side and see.
Okay, let's break this down. With proprietary software, right, the source code is a secret. You usually have to pay for a license, but in return, you get official support from the company that made it. Now with FOSS, the code is totally open, it's often free of charge, but your support is going to come from the community,
other users, forums, that sort of thing. And this brings us to a really big trade-off. With open source, there's no single neck to choke, no one company you can hold responsible if something breaks.
So, what's the big picture here? When you strip away all the technical jargon, what's the fundamental choice we're really making?
I think the most important thing to take away is that this isn't just some nerdy debate for programmers. It's way bigger than that. It's a choice between two completely different ways of doing things. A top-down model based on control versus a bottom-up model built on community and collaboration. This is about the very soul of how we create and share the digital tools that power our modern world.
And hey, this choice isn't just some abstract idea. It's very real. For almost every big-name proprietary program you can think of, there's an amazing, powerful, community-driven alternative. We're talking Microsoft Office, Adobe Photoshop, you name it. You actually have a choice.
So, the next time you go to download or install a new app, just take a second and ask yourself this. Am I just buying a lockdown product? Or am I joining an open community? The answer to that question says a lot about the kind of digital world you choose to live in.